What we have found and what research has shown is there are specific themes that come to light from high performing dental team members.
This is Dental All Stars, where we bring you the best in dentistry on marketing, management, and training. Here's your host, Alex Nottingham.
Welcome to Dental All Stars. We are excited to have Robyn Reis, our Director of Hiring, with us. And we have a 5-part program that we're doing. And we're on number 3, right, Robyn? So give us
Yes.
a background of the 5 steps to hiring. And I think we did a general one once, but now we're going into more detail of each. So what are they? And then let's transition into the 3rd step.
You bet. So the 5 steps to hiring include 1, which is your dental job description. This is your recipe for success, understanding the person and the characteristics and traits that will be a successful team member on your team. Step 2 was then using your recipe for success to create a job posting that's going to attract the talent you're looking for. This brings us to step 3, which will be the interviewing process. Step 4 is then make an offer and do your due diligence. And finally, step 5 is the onboarding program. And I'm super excited about each one of these steps because, Alex, as we always have conversations about, many dentists don't know what to do for each step. And so what makes me joyful in this process is to help dentists and give them the tools and resources to create a program that really works for them.
Awesome. So let's go to number 3.
Let's dive deep into dental interviewing. Now, we could probably spend hours, Alex, on creating questions to really elicit the responses that dentists and their team members want to hear from potential candidates. And what we have found and what research has shown is there are specific themes that come to light from high performing dental team members. And this goes way back to the 1960s in the research that was done to find out what does make a successful high performing team member on a dental team. And what we have found is that interviewing is really a process of elimination. It is not going out and being able to find that one unicorn that exists somewhere on this planet. But it's more about creating opportunity in a funnel so that you have lots of applicants that show up that apply to your position. And then it's your job to eliminate those that are not going to fall into the category that you're looking for. And then also create a pile of applicants that do meet a majority of the criteria that you're looking for. And oftentimes when I have conversations with dentists about this process, they think it's a very straight line from point A to point B. And what we have found, it's really not. It's kind of that little squiggle mark, right? Getting to narrowing down your funnel to create opportunity to meet these applicants that fit some of your criteria.
Okay. So job description, job posting, and now we're interviewing. What are some, well, I love always going into like some of the problems. What are some of the problems in interviewing that you see?
Great question. A lot of times just teams don't know where to start. They don't know what questions to ask. And of course, putting my HR hat on, I always want to help teams stay away from the no questions. What
Right.
things will get you into hot water? There are so many restrictions on what you can and cannot ask applicants. So my high recommendation is to make sure as you venture into interviewing questions, make sure you're asking the right ones. Really focus on the job and the responsibility and what you want this person to do. Like I mentioned earlier, talking about themes that really are part of a high performing team member, themes such as agility or discipline, people who are flexible and are good problem solvers. There's achiever. There's woo, as we well know, is how to win others over. People that have that sparkle, that are interested in helping others. And we find in dentistry that people that have that, what I call servant's heart, people that are altruistic, that want to help others, will work really well in a dental profession because they just have that innate desire to help, and that's some things that cannot be trained for. You either have it or you don't.
Okay. So those are some pitfalls. You mentioned the no questions. We don't do that. You mentioned looking for certain personalities or avoiding certain personalities. What are then, on the flip side, some good things that we could be doing on the interview? Some tips and tricks to improve. That we have. Obviously, it starts with a great description. It starts with a good posting. And now the interviewing side, because I think we often go right to interviewing, or we just skip and just hire people based on what we see. But and I guess that could be an interviewing problem, is we go, oh, this is great.
It's so
You fit all
true.
the right. And then we just, it's much like our great call process, phone process. If you don't go in the right order, you get a bad result. So often, we have this saying we often say, right? If you don't have time to do it right, when do you have time to do it over? So do it right, be systematic. And listen, I'm one of them that I don't follow directions really well, but I've learned that the hard way when you skip steps. So being thorough, uh, and with the interview. So again, when I'm doing the interview, one of the things too, though, with respect to interview, isn't it that uh, isn't there multiple interview stages that you have to go through typically? Because I know
We
you do this at
do.
All Star Hiring.
Yes, we do. And there's a three-part process. But even before that, Alex, it's really about getting yourself organized and having those questions pre-planned so that you're not winging it and potentially getting yourself into trouble with going
Mm,
down a rabbit hole of questions that you shouldn't be asking. And some of those are like, well, can you get here on time? Do you have a car? How are you going to do that? Oh, you're married, you have kids? Great. What are you going to do for daycare? Those are things you
can't do
cannot
that.
ask.
Mm,
So you have to be careful about that. You want to get personal, but not too personal. And you want to rephrase those questions to understand. The beginning hours are, you have to arrive at 6:30 in the morning. Would anything prevent you from arriving on time? That's one
mm,
way of getting around that question. So going back to having a plan and having those questions organized, we do it in a three-part process. We do a phone interview first, 5 to 10 minutes, about 5 questions to really just get a sense of this person, ask them about their resume, verify some information they've already provided, ask some of those theme questions to see if, again, they give us a response that we're looking for. And then we advance them to the next stage, which is a Zoom interview where we actually get to see them face to face without anybody leaving their home office, and hopefully get to know their personality. This really takes the pressure off the doctor too, because he or she is most often seeing patients during the day and don't have time to step aside and spend an hour or a half an hour with an applicant. So the Zoom interview is really a great way to see the personality. We're asking deeper questions, situational questions that, again, helps lead us to, is this a good candidate for the position and the practice? Are they a culture fit? Even more importantly, are they a culture add to our team? Are they bringing additional skills and experience that maybe we don't have enough of on our team? So the Zoom question or the Zoom interview and those questions really dive a little bit deeper. And it also takes the pressure off the applicant and the doctor so that they can be a little more natural, and the doctor gets to observe this person and hear their responses. And then after that, the candidate will then advance to an in person interview where the doctor gets to meet and the team gets to meet the applicant in person, they get a tour of the office, they get a sense of, could I see myself working on this team in this office? And they get to, again, dive a little deeper into the true details of the position.
Excellent. So we had the phone interview, we then had the Zoom interview, and then the physical interview. And what's nice also there, it's almost like you're pre-qualifying them as well because you you have to make sure they follow directions based on the job posting. And if they don't, that tells us something. And
It's a
right,
total elimination
it
process. You're right,
is.
Alex. If they don't show up for the phone interview or if they have struggles with the technology and your practice is all digital, that could be a potential deal breaker that this applicant isn't who you're looking for. So each stage of the process has intention, not only behind the questions that we ask, but also the steps in which we do it. Because again, in this competition for talent, we want to act quickly, and we also want to make sure we're intentional about what we do to get that talented person on the team as quickly as possible.
Well, you made a good point. I mean, we have to be prudent. We have to find a balance because in this situation where it's can be difficult to find good quality people, at the same time, we don't want to rush it because
Right.
some people might do well on the phone, but not on the physical. We want to make sure that we're being, but at the same time, we don't want to be obnoxious with our systems that it becomes a hindrance with respect to that. So,
Absolutely.
makes
And we're
sense.
only as good as the practices that we work with. If they're taking a long time to get back to us, we're texting them, we're emailing them, we're calling them. We understand that they have patient care during the day. But when we find and attract a good, talented team member, or what we believe to be a good, talented team member, we want to respond to them quickly and we want to accelerate the process as well and get them in front of the client as soon as possible. So again, those practices that take a long time to get back to us, we oftentimes will lose good people because there's no timely communication.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about that because I know in a dental office you have a patient that calls and it's a emergency or is it an urgency? We don't know. But then they say it's an emergency, but then they give you all this, I can't come at this time and so on. And I think dentists and those that are looking to hire need to look themselves in the mirror often on these steps because I often you see that I hear this from dentists that it's hard to hire and it's difficult there, but you also have teams that are well staffed and great teams. And what the common denominator is, the dentist has their stuff together. It's a great place to work. They're clear on their vision. They follow processes. And it's interesting how some are more immune to economic situations than others. And like you said, you're telling me that there are people out there that are using your hiring service, All Star Dental Academy hiring service, or All Star Hiring, and they're not responding back when you have an applicant who's ready to go. They're not being responsive. And it's like these are unforced errors for those that are listening. You really gotta, I mean, we we built a system that we're teaching you. This is part of our process, and we do, every month we have Robyn on the podcast, and we're teaching you about hiring, so you can do it yourself, or you can work with us and do all star hiring, which most do because you're like, let me do dentistry, and I'll work with you. You can follow this process because everything we're teaching you, we do this in the hiring process. Now, at least we can take away one factor, which is we know we can do hiring well. Then it comes the hardest part is you, right? Are you clear on what you're looking to get? How cooperative are you in the process? Are you seeing it through as we get further down the road in terms of the five steps? I think one of the hardest steps is going to be onboarding when we get there. Do you and then comprehensive training? Do you stay on with them or you have to come back because they quit? When you follow this process, the five steps, you it's not a guarantee, but you increase your likelihood of finding somebody good and holding them. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And that was a great way to articulate it. It is following that process. And when we skip steps or try to shortcut it, again, in our sense of urgency, Sometimes that backfires on us because we didn't do our due diligence. And that's step 4, which we'll talk about
And
next.
well, with that, and some of these things as we talk about, because we do meetings all the week, our leadership meetings. But one thing that came up, and I'll throw it in there. It's a bit of a hodgepodge, but the filling out your hiring forms. It's like that becomes an
Right.
issue. Oh, it's a detailed form, and I'm having issues in terms of filling it out. And we're like, if you can't do this step, right? Then how
We
are we
can't
going
do
to
what we do well.
correct? And imagine if you were doing it on your own, the lack of detail that you're providing. So we dentists, gosh, I know you're not doing it on purpose, but you got to be compliant. We're here to help you and guide you and teach you, either teach you how to do it, these podcasts or our online program, or we do it for you with All Star Hiring. But please be compliant. Please try to make your life easier. Uh, don't make it harder than it has to be. I always say, like, there are we always wish you have a boring life, right? You enjoy your work and you don't have any drama in your office. You can have drama outside the office because you chose to have drama, but at least not in your office. Let's work with that. All right, Robyn, thank you for highlighting the interview process. We talked about some of the no-nos. We talked about some of the things you need to do. We talked about the 3 parts, right? Where you phone interview, Zoom interview, live interview. And let's stop here because we're going to do another podcast with everybody and we're going to talk about the next step. Is there something you wanted to comment on?
Yeah, one thing I do want to kind of reiterate
Sure.
what I said early on was it is a team sport, right? Interviewing is a team sport. It cannot be left up to just one person on the team. And it certainly can't be dumped in the lap of an administrative or office manager position because there are so many layers to the interviewing process. You want more than one set of eyes, more than one set of ears listening and interacting with this applicant because it is a team effort, right? It's a team effort as a dental practice team, and it's also a team effort when you're trying to onboard somebody new. So you want to make sure that at every stage, if you're going to do it on your own in your office, one person does the phone interview, another person does the Zoom interview, and then yet another person is in charge of the in-person interviewing, and of course, meeting with the doctor. So at every stage, you want more than one person involved because that also helps eliminate what we call the halo effect. If you
Mm,
hear somebody on the phone and you think, wow, I really like this person, let's hire her or him, you can sometimes, again, find yourself in trouble because you haven't done the extra steps to then
that's
have them
brilliant.
meet with somebody else and then yet have them meet with a third person. So even if you're only a 3-person office, everybody can take part in each stage. Or even if you're a 2-person office, you want more than one person doing the interviewing.
That makes a lot of sense. The halo effect. Very, very wise, very bright. So Robyn, tell me if I'm listening and this all sounds good. I don't want to do it myself or I'm having some trouble. You have a recruitment slash we did a whole interview on recruitment versus hiring and take a listen to that podcast. So you have a hiring and recruitment service. Tell us about All Star Hiring.
I'd be happy to, Alex. All Star Hiring was born out of the need to help clients who didn't have the time to do the recruiting process. And that is creating those job ads, screening those resumes, talking to those applicants, and then getting them in front of dental practices. So we have developed a team of dental professionals who have all sat at least one seat in the dental practice, who also have hiring and recruiting experience. And we've gathered them together to really create a incredible team of hiring specialists who are dedicated to finding those right team members for our clients. And so it's a done for you service. You don't have to worry about anything except for filling out that questionnaire,
Yes, and
which
being
helps our
responsive.
team be very successful at what we do. And then meeting the candidates that we find for you that meet or check most of your boxes that you're looking for. So occasionally we create some magic and do find those unicorns that check all the boxes. But for the most part, we are there to, again, take the time and stress and time-consuming burden off the practices so that they get to focus on what they do best, and that is taking care of your patients.
Wonderful. And to learn more about All-Star Hiring, just go to allstardentalacademy.com/hiring. And we'll put links in the show notes for that, as well as for some of the prior interviews on the 5 steps, and even maybe hiring versus recruitment. I like that one. We'll put that link there as well. Wonderful. Okay, well, thank you for joining us, Robyn. And for those that are listening, please follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Get the episodes as they are released. Share with your friends. And also, we also are on Instagram, Facebook. You can find us everywhere. And until next time,
you can find us everywhere.
Exactly. That could be a good, and you can find us anywhere. All right. Until next time, go out there and be an all-star.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Dental All Stars. Visit us online at allstardentalacademy.com.